The buzz in town is a list of ministerial nominees. It is finally out, even if more nominations are still being awaited. Remember, we told you earlier that whatever list of ministers you came across prior to this is or was an orchestrated scam. But our discussion today is close to politics only in context. It's about how we vote and whether or not social and new media could influence our choices. It is about books, and one book in particular. The public presentation of the title, Cyber Politics, Social Media, Social Demography, and Voting Behavior in Nigeria, took place at the auditorium of the Communications and Digital Economic Complex, Abuja, on the 25th of July. Authored by Dr. Omoni Ibieton, a journalist, social entrepreneur, political communication scholar, and public servant, the book contains 12 chapters comprising 460 pages. Moving beyond the realm of conjecture to the social science analysis, it throws light on whether or not Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp influence our choices on election day. Welcome to Deepening the Conversation, a weekly diary on life and politics written by Azu Ishekwene. Our discussion today is based on Azu's review of the book I have just referenced. Let's engage with Azu about his column, and perhaps he just might tell us what it is about Azu and books. You're welcome to the show, Mr. Azu.
Thanks. It's good to be back again, Julius. Thanks for having me.
I will start this on a personal note. Others indulge in coffee, in watching television, or maybe some other pastime.
Yeah.
And you seem to be preoccupied with books all of the time. What is it about you and books?
Well, I don't know what it is about me and books, really, but I think I've heard someone say that most of the world's secrets, most of the things that we spend a lot of our time going out there to seek are actually buried, in the pages of books. So maybe on a treasure hunt and hoping that I'll be able to find some very important treasures in the pages of the books that I read. But I think that that's just by the way. I think I have other forms of relaxation. When I'm able to find time, which unfortunately these days is not as frequent as I used to. I play a bit of table tennis. I'm learning a bit of badminton, learning badminton at old age. But uh, the important thing is that I have grown to love books because I think that very important lessons of life that we can find within those within the sacred pages of books.
All right, and quickly, I would follow up with what motivated you to review what appears to be an academic and scholarly work, a very difficult task for people like you that hardly find time for something else.
I guess you're talking about cyber politics, the book by Dr. Nii Bieson. I find the book very interesting. I mean, when the author shared it with me and then told me of his intention that I do the review for him. Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's a text that developed out of his doctoral research, Northwest University in South Africa. But the subject of the book is also very contemporary and very interesting. It's about cyber politics and about social demography and voter behavior. That's a very important area of interest for me. I mean, we all follow people or people follow us on social media and what have you. It's interesting sometimes we ask ourselves, do some of the people that we follow, how do they influence us, if at all they influence us? Um, and the issue of voter behavior and media influence is one that I find very fascinating, and it's a subject that the book deals with in extenso.
Has this book clearly established
Okay.
that Nigerians and perhaps citizens of Kenya and Sierra Leone, for example, could make political choices based on trends in Facebook, on Twitter, or generally on social media? So, the second leg of the question is how do we relate these to campaigns, manifestos, party structures, and in other places, tribe, religion, or even money?
Yes. So, nice question. But the book did not establish sociality as it
Okay.
affects the relationship of human beings, because human beings are social animals. But of course, one thing that is quite interesting is that the introduction of the internet, and especially of technology, has taken social interaction among human beings to a totally new dimension. So one thing that the book also tried to explore further is the relationship, or what's a nexus. It was a nexus between social media as it is today and voter behavior and voter pattern. And you talked about Nigerians, whether they're in Kenya and so forth and so on. Yes, I mean, we are all, the internet has totally changed,
The dynamics.
significantly changed dynamics of our social relationship. There's no question about that. But you see, studies have consistently, and this study is not significantly different in that sense, except that it anchors the thing home. Studies have shown consistently that media, the impact of media is more in terms of awareness, and relevance than in influencing or changing people's attitude or behavior. So whether Nigerians who are in, and the book actually was looking at the 2015 elections to see whether, or the extent to which social media affected social demographics and actually also voting pattern. So, which I think is a very interesting, is a very interesting question. And what the book found, to which was the second part of your question, about whether I was able to establish that fact, I think it sort of reinforced significantly what we have known over time. But of course, there are also some new areas of interest that the book also tends to explore. What it calls, for example, the factor channel theory,
The channel factor.
channel factor theory, which is too complicated. I don't want us to go into that jargon. But fundamentally, what the book found is what studies over the years have also delved into and found, except that it anchored its own investigation on the 2015 elections in Nigeria, and said in the sense so that, yes, I mean, to use the author's words, when we said, look, if you want to look at assign percentages, that you find that perhaps 10% of the outcome of voting behavior based on the sample size may have been affected by social media factors, but significant influence came from factors outside social media itself, because there are also social factors that are mediating influences in how people consume information, including, of course, information regarding to voting.
Okay, away from 2015, which is the book's term of reference, I want to like move faster and come to the 2023 general elections. We saw the role played by pollsters, who more or less dragged voters into presumptions that certain candidates could win based on certain notions or assumptions, which at the time you disproved in many of your articles. And are these trends also expressed in the book, or are they not within the scope of research?
But well, pollsters, if pollsters got it wrong as this substantially did, it's not the first time pollsters will be getting it wrong. Pollsters also got it wrong in the U.S. presidential elections involving when Trump came up. I mean, and it was more or less like eggs in their faces, in tons of it. So it's not a new thing, that, but we hope in what social research does is that any mistake or any significant margin of error in outcomes helps the next set of studies to get better. All right. So for me, the space in the 2023 elections, especially, it was good that social media sort of helped to mobilize significant numbers of young people, especially in urban areas. Okay. But keep in mind that Nigeria is not quite there yet. I mean, in terms of the impact in actual voting behavior, it's still a long, long way, because there are still a significant number of group in our population cut off entirely from access to social media, who want to see the politicians, who want to shake hands with politicians, who want to engage, opinion leaders and molders, who want to engage their politicians one on one for whatever reasons before they make their eventual voting decisions.
Now, I want to bring you closer to the impact of all of these on the media industry. As you reference, especially with the BBC analogy, is it time for mainstream media to re-strategize towards getting political patronage by way of advertisements?
Well, the bipolarity of either or, I don't think there is space for that. I mean, it's not a question of mainstream or social media. I think it's a question of adaptation and reinforcement and convergence. And these are terms that that media practitioners and citizens will find extremely useful in today's world. So it's a lesson. It's an important wake up call, isn't it? That to know and to appreciate the fact that mainstream does not really exist in a silo. That mainstream can leverage the power of social media to reinforce and to share content across a much wider space in a way that also empowers the agency of citizens. I think that that's also an important lesson to take away, apart from, of course, the commercial side of it.
All right. And finally, someone did ask me, and I would like to put the question directly to you. Why are people still bothering to write books when the overwhelming majority
I will
of
ask
people
you what
don't even
I will
read?
not ask you what your what your answer was, but well, books. I believe that writing books these days, when people depend more on clickbaits and bites, and don't want anything that, to use the colloquial phrase, is softer than banana or is harder than banana. When these are but I think there's still a lot that books offer us. Don't also forget that authors these days are also learning to find ways of conveying important messages in books to younger generation or younger populations through other means. So um, that you can have audio books if you don't have if you are not able to read that. Audio books are also available now, and books are also, that didn't start today, of course, are also acted or played out in form of drama or movies and all of that. So if you're not, or you can also read books in their digital or e-form. So if you do not like consuming them in print form, which I plead guilty of doing, there are other forms that you can consume them. And I think it's also incumbent on us as writers and authors to find ways of conveying important messages that we have to convey in platforms or ways that the wider audiences will be able to consume and use them.
All right. People who talk like Azu has spoken have a house full of books and libraries and bookshelves. The review we've been talking about is just an abridged version. The full content, among other articles, can be found on azuishekwene.com. Conversation with Azu is about the most widely syndicated newspaper column of any Nigerian writer, primarily featured on leadership and Vanguard newspapers every Friday. It can be accessed on online media platforms including Premium Times, The Cable, The Interview Magazine, Neptune Prime, News Chronicles, and a couple of others. It is adapted and published by Clarín of Argentina, City Press, Daily Maverick, Mail and Guardian of South Africa, and Daily Graphic of Ghana. You can read all articles at azuishekwene.com. Visit our social media interfaces on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Like, comment, and above all, don't forget to share. Thanks for deepening the conversation, Mr. Azu.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Julius. Thank you.
Bye for now.